Ronna McDaniel doubles down on Sarah Huckabee Sanders' SOTU rebuttal, common sense versus crazy. RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel responds to Sarah Huckabee Sanders' scathing review of Biden's State of the Union address and how Republicans can take the lead in 2024. Based on his State of the Union address, Joe Biden must be living in a different reality than the Americans he claims to represent. Here's the truth: this country is hurting, and it's because Biden has been an abject failure as president. No amount of spin can conceal the facts. Under Biden's failed leadership, Americans are poorer and less safe. Our southern border is wide open, and deadly drugs are pouring into our communities. Our children are still suffering the devastating effects of Democrat-led school lockdowns. All of these crises have erupted on Biden's watch, but he has no interest in fixing them. Instead, he used his time in the people's house to lie to the American people. Andrew Cuomo says Biden opened border without having a plan to handle migrants. It was a mistake. Biden tried to paint a rosy picture of the economy, but Americans from coast to coast see right through his dishonesty. According to a new ABC News poll, a record number of people say they are financially worse off under Biden. And according to a recent CBS News poll, 76% of Americans are concerned about inflation, and 61% of Americans rate the economy as bad. President Biden spoke during a State of the Union address at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., on Tuesday. President Biden spoke during a State of the Union address at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., on Tuesday. Nathan Howard/Bloomberg via Getty Images. It's important to remember that liberal economists, some of whom worked in the Obama White House, point to Biden's $1.9 trillion in reckless spending as a key cause of the inflation we've experienced over the past 2 years. The numbers don't lie. Since Biden took office, real wages, incomes, and savings are all down across the board. Americans have lost $9,300 on average paying for the increased cost of living since Biden took office. Biden's economy is leaving folks behind, and no canned applause line can ease the pain that families are feeling on a daily basis. Biden briefly mentioned the southern border but conveniently left out that we don't really have one under his failed leadership. Since Biden took office and threw the border wide open, nearly 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed into America. This chaos creates ideal conditions for cartels to profit, and they're doing so by pouring deadly fentanyl, more than enough to kill the entire population of our country in 2022 alone, into our communities. Every state is a border state when you don't have a border. Fact-checking Biden's State of the Union address video. There's no question it makes us less safe, but it's even bigger than that. A self-respecting nation enforces basic border security. Biden's refusal to do so and his refusal to support our beleaguered Border Patrol agents shows that he cares more about appeasing the far left than he does about our nation's safety and integrity. This was Biden's entire strategy Tuesday night. When it comes to crises that have occurred on his watch, he either ignored them completely or misrepresented the situation. He mentioned COVID-19, but failed to mention that our kids are suffering devastating long-term effects from Democrat-led school lockdowns that his administration worked with far-left teachers' unions to uphold. He mentioned gas prices but failed to mention that gas has been more expensive every day under his leadership than it was before he took office. He mentioned China but refused to explain why he let their surveillance balloon cross most of our country without lifting a finger, and has still taken no meaningful action to hold the communist regime accountable for unleashing COVID-19 on the world. Click here to get the opinion newsletter. It's hard to describe how insulting it is for a president to brag about incremental changes in inflation and gas prices after destroying our energy independence and putting families through the ringer just to make ends meet. This chaos creates ideal conditions for cartels to profit, and they're doing so by pouring deadly fentanyl, more than enough to kill the entire population of our country in 2022 alone, into our communities. Every state is a border state when you don't have a border. It's even harder to understand why Biden's response to 2 years of drained savings accounts is to propose billions in new taxes. This president does not respect the American people enough to apologize for his failures and doesn't think they're smart enough to see through his cheap political spin. He will receive a jarring wake-up call in 2024. By contrast, responses from Arkansas Gov. Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Arizona Rep. Juan Ciscomani were honest, direct, and focused on solutions. It's clear that unlike Biden, Gov. Sanders and Rep. Ciscomani understand that Americans are hurting. Where Biden and Democrats offer failed policies, cynical spin, and outright dishonesty, Republicans are offering a strong economy, safe communities, and a generation of children protected from cultural indoctrination and far-left tyranny. We are the party of freedom, prosperity, security, and the American dream. That spirit came through in every word of our responses to Biden's failed speech. It's why we won the House in 2022, it's why we'll win the Senate in 2024, and it's why Joe Biden will be a one-term president.